Welcome to the Wild West. This is the War Pony podcast, where we are your trading post for all upcoming productions, connections, and tricks of the trade. I'm your host, Cassidy Honey, bringing West Texas to you. I'm a wife, mom, businesswoman, holistic equine therapist, and team roper. Relax and watch the sunset as we highlight events, consult on business, share knowledge of the industry, and talk to the legends and rising stars of the community. Join the tribe and make War Pony your one-stop shop for all things West Texas. All right, guys. Welcome to the War Pony podcast. Today is going to be a little bit different of an episode. My mom had a really good idea for October. Go ahead, Mom. Share your... Well, for those who don't know, my mom's name is not Mom. It's Alicia.
Or G.
Or G.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone knows her by G. So go ahead, G. Let's hear your idea for this podcast.
So I just wanted it, I thought about this idea because I just wanted everyone to be aware of breast cancer, because anybody can
get it.
Anybody can get it.
Yeah.
It's 1 out of 8 women that gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, like, I was like, there's no way that I'd ever get it.
And we thought it'd be special being October.
Definitely
cancer.
October.
Yeah,
like,
so let's kick it off, and then to just bring in like the Western community, because there is 1 in 8 women, and there's a ton of women that we have reached out to that we're going to be sharing all their stories with you in this episode. Just the different things. There's women that felt bad. There's women that felt perfectly great and were healthy and there was nothing wrong.
Just went in for the routine mammogram, and the next thing you know, you're a stage 3.
Yeah. And then there's women that are, just brand new mothers who are finding out in their pregnancies that they have this. And so,
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, just trying to kind of talk about it and kicking off October with the awareness. So
yeah, definitely.
For those that don't know, my mom last year was diagnosed with cancer in April.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of hit us out of nowhere. Went in one day and came out with it the next. So, but she didn't have any symptoms. Like, you maybe had days where you felt kind of like low, but
like I just felt tired. But then, like you said, there was days that I felt like really good.
Yeah.
So I never felt sick.
Yeah.
I never felt run down to where I was like, man, I should just run to the doctor. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's so important to get your mammograms. Don't be afraid to get them. If your doctor says get them, then go ahead and get them and just take it from there. Because I'm one that put it off.
Something else that I think is really interesting about breast cancer is a lot of the times it's not hereditary. It doesn't run in families. It doesn't mean that because no one else in your family, to our knowledge, there's not a lot of history of breast cancer in our family.
No, there's not. It was me.
And you got tested and you don't carry the gene.
I do not carry the gene. And I think that was the longest test result of my life that I was waiting for, because I didn't want to be a carrier knowing that I could carry it on to you or onto Teal or onto Clancy's kids as well.
Yeah.
And so,
and I think something that's safe to say is it's becoming more known that generations now are talking about previous healths and things, but a lot of your grandparents and your, family, we don't know.
We don't know.
They don't talk about that kind of stuff.
Right. So, you're sitting there at the oncologist office and they're asking you all these family medical questions and you're like, I don't know. My grandpa had, not six or 7 sisters, and they all lived up into their 90s. Mm-hmm. And they were all completely healthy.
Yeah.
And so, I know my mom's side better than I do my dad's side, but you're like, okay, like no one else has had it.
Yeah.
And I have so many cousins and their kids, and no one else has had it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's 1 out of 8. It's just a random 1 out of 8. So it's really important to don't do like I did. Don't put it off, because my doctor had asked me for years, go get your mammogram. And I'm like, oh, I feel fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows how long I had it?
Yeah.
I mean, who really knows? It could have been 2 years. It could have been a year. You never know.
I know we kind of sat and thought about it for a little bit. It was like when you kind of started having those like low days, and you do have low blood pressure. So like some days you thought, oh, it's just my blood pressure, whatever. And I think we kind of maybe narrowed it, which we'll never know. But I mean, maybe in the last like year and a half, 2 years, you were like, man, maybe this could have been a symptom that we just tasked off as, you know, you were tired from workout, or it was a long day, or it was your blood pressure, or anything, blood sugars, or whatever it was. But maybe it was that.
Maybe it could have been. I know that when we had gotten back from our big trip to Arizona from roping, I just felt like I just couldn't recover from it. And it wasn't a hard trip. We just did a lot of stuff, but it wasn't anything out of the normal, you know?
Yeah. So I think that it's just really important. I think it'd be really neat too, is to show the industry and to show how it really is a very common thing now, unfortunately, and that nobody's alone. You know, I think one thing that was really cool is for your first chemo, I mean, how everyone was there and we all had the shirts and the support, and it wasn't just our family in those rooms. Everybody had support in there, and it was just, I remember sitting there and we were waiting, and, you know, just, it looked like an IV room, like that you go get your, like when you're hungover and you go get an IV.
Absolutely. I'd much rather have had that.
Yeah. But that's what it looks like, you know? And I think I remember like having this idea that there's going to be some sort of person that's going to look some sort of way. And it's like, I'm going to tell that person has cancer.
Right.
And the people that were walking in the doors, like, we're just normal people.
Yeah.
Like, they just all look normal or healthy. I mean, yeah, there was those ones that, you know, you could tell were probably been through quite a few chemo, but for the most part, those people, like, I could not point them out to you in a crowd.
Yeah, that is one thing that I feel like Houston does a great job with, is your health definitely comes first, and your mental health. I mean, they're very good about that.
And they were super supportive of all of us. I mean, they came out several times during your first treatment just in like, can we get you guys snacks? Can we get, you know, like, it was really neat.
Yeah, it was like the first treatment that I had the ice cap.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to wait, 20-30 minutes before I got the Ativan to knock me out.
Oh, that was horrible.
It was horrible.
Now, the theory is cool, you know.
It's so cool.
But
it was brutal. I'm not going to lie.
Link the picture in the show notes.
Oh my God. Yeah, the ice balls.
Literally had like Jack Frost hair.
I'm serious.
Your hair was frozen.
Whoever can go through any type of chemo and do the caps, kudos to y'all, because I feel like I'm a pretty tough person, but that was, I think, the anxiety of just having your first chemo, and then on top of it, you know, you're going to get this ice cap put on your head so you can just keep your hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am not that vain.
Yeah.
Like, let's just do it. And on our way home, when you're like, Mom, I really haven't said anything, but you can't do that again.
Yeah.
And that I was like, that's fine. Like, I never want to do that again.
The whole time you were like, you know, it was scary, especially like, you know, my brother and I were like sitting there looking, and it's like, is it this way because of the chemo? Because it's like not really anything I can put into words, but watching them put this chemical into your body that knows is literally going to kill your body.
Yes.
Is a very wild thing. And then to see you reacted the way you did, not because of the chemo, but because of how cold that was.
Yeah.
And not to know like what to distinguish. Was it the chemo? Was it the cap? Like, what was it? It was scary.
Yeah.
And then I was like, look, like, I'll buy you whatever wig. I don't give a shit. You're not doing that again.
Oh, let's talk about my wig.
Okay. So for those that don't know, there is a place here in Midland.
It's a great place. It's actually in Odessa.
I was going to talk about the T-Mart experience.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
First, I took my mom. I wanted her to get the whole experience.
Yeah, the entire experience. It was a lot.
Yeah. So we went over to the south side of town.
South side of town. Because it's, you know, Cassidy.
And I'm like, Mom, I've been here a lot of times. Actually, that's where I used to buy my clip-in extension.
I know, and I didn't want to get out of the car.
The place from the outside looks a little sketch.
And on the inside, it's pretty sketch.
But we went and tried on wigs, and oh my gosh, I remember you looked at me in the car, you're like,
I'm not going to get fucking out of here. Like,
Oh,
just get out. So, but then you did end up finding a really cool place in Odessa.
I did. I found this cool place in Odessa, and it's actually a wig shop with professional wigs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird walking in a place like shopping for your hair, because there's like any kind of hair that you want. Like, I mean, short, long, medium,
curls,
straight, like whatever you want.
Today
you
I want
know,
to be blonde. Today I want to be red.
Yeah, it is
matter.
like, you know. And the lady had absolutely beautiful hair. The owner did, and she loves wigs. So, like, you know, she's like, I never do my hair. I just wear a wig all the time. And all I can think of is like, oh my God, the West Texas wind is going to pick up, take my hair across the parking lot.
I think the best thing is when you called me and you were like, this is it. I can't do this wig. I literally just took a bath and then I had to wash my hair separate.
Yeah, when you're taking a bath and your hair is washing in the sink.
You're like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it was a lot. So I just got some chemo caps and wore ball caps, and you know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But you know, it's definitely humbling. It's a different experience, but you know, it'd have been really embarrassing to be chasing my hair across a parking lot.
Yeah, we weren't going to do that.
Or like, what if it was like the wind blew and like my hair was crooked and like nobody wanted to tell me, because you know, my family likes to do stuff like that.
For those that don't know, my mom went through this pineapple obsession before she realized what the pineapple stood for. And we let her.
And they were assholes about it.
We let her. So, but no, we thought it would be really neat to be able to share. So we are going to be interviewing several people throughout this episode that we're going to be clipping together to kind of provide you one episode in one place and just sharing everyone's stories. So,
because not everybody's story is the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. Like, there's times that I almost feel guilty for going through the chemo that I went through, because other than losing my hair and my eyelashes, which my eyelashes were traumatizing, when you go to bed one day and you wake up the next morning and you have no eyelashes.
Yeah. That's literally how it went. Like, one day you had hair, the next day you did. Like, it wasn't a gradual. It was a very dramatic.
It was very dramatic, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I remember before that first chemo, you know, I'd talk to you and I'm like, I think I'm going to cut my hair short, because mm-hmm. I think it'll be easier to lose for the cap, because that's when I was all about the cap. And so I cut it short and then lost my hair, but I still had my eyelashes. Mm-hmm. So like, there was a little part of me that was like, I'm cool. I'm okay. Yeah. Like, I've always had long eyelashes. So I'm like, okay, so I'll just wear like this little chemo cap, and like my eyelashes will be on point, mm-hmm. and like people will know that maybe I went through something, but it's not going to be so dramatic. And then you wake up and you have no eyelashes.
Yeah.
And it is like, it's brutal.
And like, nothing to even like put fake eyelashes on too.
No, like they're gone. Like they're gone.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was jealous you have to shave your legs for a long time. That was cool.
Like no shaving, no waxing,
for nothing, for a long time,
for a year.
Yeah, that was cool, I guess.
No, it was cool. I mean, that was the benefit. It was cool, but everybody goes through it so differently. You know, I was really fortunate that my oncologist in Houston give me a bag of steroids and a bag of anti-nausea before I even got my chemo.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I got home and I was tired, but I was
rally. We went from your chemo and then we stopped at that little town. What
yeah,
was that?
I don't know, but we ate that.
Girl, and they had that like band and everything. And you're like, I want a drink and I want this and I'm fine. And we're like, who is she? And then it kind of did hit you.
It did. Like, by the time we got to Fredericksburg,
that was it.
Like, I was wiped out. But we went to that ice cream place, that alcohol ice cream place.
If you haven't been, Tipsy Cow.
Oh, yes, the Tipsy Cow.
Bronzeville.
So good.
Delicious.
So good. But, like, I never got sick. Like, I never got, like, you know, in the beginning, the oncologist was saying, you know, you may have to have somebody come stay with you. We don't know how you're going to react. You're 8 hours away.
Right.
And so
you did pretty good.
Mentally, I was like, yeah, no. Like, I'm the mom. I'm take care of everybody. Nobody's taking care of me.
You were very stubborn.
But remember when I had that reaction and my lips looked like I got a really bad lip injection job?
Yes. your whole body. We had to go to the ER. You had like 5 or shots of Epi.
I know. And I was still like swelling up.
Oh my gosh. I know. And the guy's like, I'm not like, I don't, but it was like, because you had chemo every other week. Right? Every third?
Yeah, every third week.
Yeah. So it was like week 2. Like, so typically, if you were having any symptoms, your first week was pretty rough. Your second week, you were tired. Your third week, you were rallying.
I was good to go.
But you had that that was wild.
That was crazy, right?
Yeah. And then, like, there's nothing they can do because the chemo's already in your body doing whatever it's doing. You can't just push your body. Like, yeah, that one was crazy.
That one was like when I called in, I'm like, hey,
you have a little rash. Your eyes were swollen shut.
Like, I can't drive myself to the ER, but if you could take me, that'd be great. Cause like my lips are huge and my eyes are swollen shut.
Was bad.
But like, I kind of feel like guilty in a way because like, you know, you see so many people go through chemo, no matter what kind of chemo it is, and they're sick.
Yeah.
I mean, they're truly, honest to goodness, sick.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never got to that point.
Yeah.
I just was not going to let myself get to that point. And, I mean, those, like you were saying, you know, you can't tell chemo people, you couldn't tell that some people were having chemo.
You couldn't tell the patients from like the support.
Right.
No way.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So where we take you to all these other stories within this episode, something that is really neat is that you are now in remission.
I am. Yep. August 27th, I went back to Houston and I had my mammogram. My mammogram was so great and good and clear that I didn't even need the ultrasound. But
so we just hope that you guys can hear these stories and just spread awareness.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. And, you know, one thing too is build your support system. It's temporary.
Hang in there. You're not alone.
Yeah. You're not alone. You're probably going to lose your hair, your eyelashes.
Your nipples might glow in the dark.
Your nipples might glow in the dark. I mean, maybe that's my superpower that I got from this. Yeah. I mean, who knows? We might have a blackout and it saves your life.
Oh, yeah. Great. Where's Mom? We need her nipples.
Mom whipped her boob out. We had light.
All right. Let's go ahead. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Karen Coskery. I live in Stephenville.
But you did live here for a little while.
I did live in Odessa. Yeah, Gardendale, yes. Odessa. And while I was down there, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And the way I found it was I found a lump. And I'm not real big on mastectomies. And so I went and had a sonogram. And yes, of course, it came back. That's what it was. And I don't remember the type that it was. I used to work at medical center long time ago. Long time ago.
Uh-huh.
But one thing a lot of employees of a hospital won't tell you, you learn what docs are really good. There was one physician down there that was known for his horrible, horrible bedside manner, but he was really good at what he did. I knew a few of the oncologists there.
Uh-huh.
And so I picked one that I knew, and I knew how he was. We ended up having a biopsy done, definitely breast cancer. Everybody else remembers their name of what kind of cancer they've had. I don't want to know. Yeah. I don't want to remember. But that's me. You know,
did they tell you, or did you just say, I don't want to know at all?
No, they told me.
Yeah.
And they told me that if I had to have breast cancer, that was the best one to have. Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, okay, you know, yeah. I don't think any of them's good, but if that's the best one to have, good thing.
Yeah, so be it.
Yeah.
What did your treatments look like?
Chemo.
How many rounds?
Chemo. You know, I can't tell you that either.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I just block it out or what. but it seemed like forever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it wasn't. I've heard of people having a lot more than what I did have, going for a whole year, back and forth. And West Texas Cancer Center is very good at what they do. I will give them that. Kudos. The doc that I had as my oncologist is now retired, which I'm sad about that, but he deserves his retirement. And since I've moved to Stephenville, I have a primary doctor here who he knows how I am already about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not one just to take a doctor's word for whatever. Doesn't matter if I think I have a cold or whatever. If he tells me it's the flu, I'm like, sure, maybe not,
Yeah.
But I've never been one to take shots or that kind of thing. There's a lot of shots going around nowadays. No way
Yeah.
I would ever take it. I'm just like, no. But he wanted to introduce me to a doc in Granbury that is an oncologist. And I told him no, not until I have to have that. I don't want to deal with them. Nowadays, I go to the doctor once a year just for normal checkup.
And are you in?
For free?
Yes, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And you're back to running your barrel horses and.
Yes. The year, after I went through the chemo and got my first clearance, no cancer, rang the bell, the whole 9 yards. I went back to running the horses. I put a contract on a house here.
What brought you to Stephenville?
Years ago, like 2012, which is not years ago to y'all, but the younger generation. I came to my very first race here in Stephenville with what was my heart horse back then. He's since passed away. Had so much fun. I love the atmosphere of Stephenville, and I still do. Yeah. I love living here. This is where I'm going to die. Not anytime soon.
That's right.
But that's what brought me here. I love the country. I love the whole town, really.
So if you could say anything as a piece of advice to somebody who might be battling breast cancer right now, what would that be?
Do what your heart tells you as far as your own body. Don't always take doctors' words for it. My daughter talked me into going to MD Anderson. I hated it. Lots of people love them. What I think a lot of people don't remember is it's a teaching hospital. So a lot of the doctors down there are students. I ended up with a double mastectomy.
Which you just said you didn't want in the very beginning, right?
Right. Well, no, if I had to go, I wanted the double. MD Anderson only wanted to take the one that the cancer was in. Well, being in the medical profession, I still have a lot of friends that are in the medical profession. And you learn a lot when you work at a hospital, period, as far as what happens with certain things.
Sure.
If you have breast cancer in one breast, 99% of the time, if you have that removed, just the one, it's coming back in the other.
Yeah.
Personally, I didn't want to go through all that again.
Yeah.
So I asked MD Anderson to take both. They would not do it. Would not. Totally refused.
That's crazy.
So I came back to my oncologist in Odessa and told him that I wasn't going back there. And he's like, let me find you a surgeon here. And I also had a friend that worked at Midland Memorial, and she worked in the surgical department, and told her what was going on. She recommended the same physician that my oncologist did. So I made a a consultation appointment
Mm-hmm.
with this lady and loved her within 5 minutes of her walking in the room. I mean, she was like, yes, let's do them. Had a plastic surgeon come in and do reconstructive. After she did her part, he came in and did his part. So I had one surgery. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
As far as that. Yeah. So listen to your heart. Do what it's your body. Don't always take a doc's word for everything. Question everything. Everything.
So when you got diagnosed, did you ever feel sick or anything like that?
Only after I started the chemo.
Yeah.
The first chemo I'll never forget. I was fine. I had 8 hours chemo straight.
Oh my gosh.
Got home. I felt fine. Went to the bathroom and almost passed out on the floor. It hit me that quick. I have friends that have had cancer. One's into the holistic stuff. And she helped me out a lot. Some of the meds that docs prescribe for you, there are holistic medications that will work just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Get it at the health food store, a whole lot cheaper.
A little bit better for you too.
Oh yeah. But I was nauseated, couldn't eat for like 3 weeks straight. Actually 2 weeks straight, you couldn't eat anything. And people say that food tastes like cardboard. It does, if it tastes at all. So I ended up losing down from like 125 to 95 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Through all of it. Yeah. I had chemo every 3 weeks. The week before the next chemo, you start feeling better. Can keep some food down, you know.
You got to start all over again.
Then you got to start all over again. Yeah. Food goes back to tasting horrible. Yeah. It was definitely something I don't want to do again.
Yeah.
I don't wish it on anybody. But yeah, just I have a friend that would come by, if not every day, every other day. I may be laying on the couch all day. She'd go get in the recliner and we'd both take naps.
Yeah.
You know, but she was there. I mean, I didn't.
The support system is what gets you through it.
Oh yeah, definitely. The first time I felt good enough to saddle horses again, it took me 2 hours to saddle 2 horses. My adopted brother showed up, says, "What are we doing?" Because I'm sitting inside the tack room just sitting there looking at the horses. And I said, I was wanting to ride or try to. He goes, "How long did it take you to get those horses saddled?" I said, 2 hours. He goes, "Let's do this. I'll unsaddle them and put them up for you. You go in the house and lay on the couch. We'll try it again tomorrow."
Yeah.
So, yeah, the support system is definitely something you need. Nobody should go through it alone. Whether it be a best friend. My daughter went to almost every doctor's appointment with me. She flew to Houston when I was doing that. She was always there. And then I had a couple other friends that were there. You know, it was definitely trying time.
Yeah.
But I'm all better now.
Which is
and
amazing.
I hope that for everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you ever have any like outsource support groups that you used? I know that like my mom looked on Facebook a couple times and stuff, and there's those types of things. Did you ever use anything like that?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, I'm until you get to know me, I'm a pretty private person.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've gone back and forth about me doing this.
Yeah.
But I figure if it can help somebody else at least have some calmness about it, it's worth me doing this.
Yeah.
I
just think it's neat to get all the different stories together and just to see how it really is and, you know, put awareness and you're not alone. Or, You know,
Right.
my mom
Even
actually,
if you think you're alone, you're not alone.
yeah, you know, my mom
Yeah.
put off her mammogram for years because she
Yeah.
just didn't want to know. And it's just crazy because what if she would have found it when it was just really little and she didn't have to go through the chemos and all the things too. But, you know, everything
Right.
happens for a reason. But
Exactly.
I don't think you're ever too young. I don't think it's ever anything not to talk about and not to share some sort of awareness about. And it doesn't
Right.
present itself in
Exactly.
just one way. I mean, it doesn't have a
Exactly.
type that it likes. That's for sure.
Right. It can hit anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. It doesn't have a preference.
that's right.
It's the food.
Well, I
Yeah.
really do appreciate you just telling your story and everything else. I usually end all my podcast with a question. I know that you moved away from here, but
Yes.
why is West Texas special to you?
My daughter and my grandkids and my son-in-law are still there. So, and I still have friends there. So
Yeah.
I go back every now and then just to go see everybody. But that's why it's still special.
Yeah.
And I worked at the same place for a long time, took breaks here and there from it, worked for the same company 3 different times, and that's who I retired with. And I still have friends that are there. So that's why West Texas is special.
Yeah. It definitely has its way of pulling everybody in.
Yeah. Do I want to live back down there? No.
Wait, you tell me you enjoy that green grass out there?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I'm always
I
jealous.
got
I see
food.
your pictures and I'm like, oh, that must be nice. My horses are standing in sand
It's
while it's
very
blowing them.
nice.
Yeah.
Right. I
So-
love it here. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this. And, you know, I just really hope that if anyone gets anything from it, it's whether you're a support person or you're the patient or you're whatever, there is a place
Right.
for you and like there's people to talk to.
Exactly. And even if I don't know you and you need more questions answered, holler.
Yeah.
I'll answer them.
Yeah.
Or I'll try to anyway. And if not, I have other friends that have gone through the same thing and I can get you in touch with them too. So
Yeah.
Whatever's needed, we've got to help each other, throughout life. Everybody needs help. So
Yes, for sure.
definitely.
Well, thank you again.
You're very welcome.
All right. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
All righty.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm Tanya Foster. I got diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer 4 years ago. I'm on my 2nd year of cancer-free.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I did 6 months chemo, and then, of course, I think it was 37 treatments of radiation, and a double mastectomy. But by the grace of God and, lots of prayers, I beat it.
Yeah. So when you got diagnosed, did you feel sick or did you feel any, did you know, or how did it come up, your diagnosis?
I kind of had a feeling I had it like a year before I got diagnosed. I started seeing issues on my skin, on the outside of my skin. So,
like in that area or just all over your skin?
It just in my breast area.
Yeah.
And so, then I decided I better make some moves because I was down where there was no medical doctors, and decided to come back to Midland and go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I was nervous at first. Everybody is, very nervous at first.
And you have littles.
I do. I have. If it wasn't for my youngest daughter, I don't know what I'd do, because she was my rock.
Mm-hmm.
My rock.
If you could give anybody going through treatments or that has a diagnosis, if you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Positive attitude. You've got to know that you're still going forward, that you can beat it, that there's people out there that's beat it, and just keep in prayer and know that, God's holding your hand, and keep your faith, and, just keep positive and keep pushing forward. Don't let it stop you.
Yeah.
Because it can't stop you unless you let it.
That's right.
So, yeah.
So you are now completely in remission. What does that look like? You still have to go get tested. Are you yearly now? Are you still every?
I'm still every 6 months right now because I had metastatic breast cancer. So I go every year, every 6 months. I mean, I'm still on a trial chemo drug for a few more weeks, I think 8 more weeks. And then, of course, I have to take some other, a shot and another pill for the next 10 years. But, we're working on the year date to when I can schedule out that far. So
yeah,
we're working on it.
Yeah. Where did you get your treatments done at?
West Texas Cancer Center in Odessa. They are amazing. My oncologist over there is great. I love him to death. I mean, all the nurses over there are just sweet as they can be. And, I've never had a problem over there, and they're great. They're great.
Well, that is exciting. So, how do you fit into the horse industry?
Well, I used to barrel race years ago until my daughter started rodeoing, and then I had to quit.
Yeah, she's got your horses.
But, yeah. So my oldest 2 daughters were high school rodeoing and junior high rodeoing. And now my youngest daughter's rodeoing. So that's how I'm kind of involved in it.
Yeah. I always end with the question is like, why is West Texas special to you?
I've lived here my whole life, pretty much. And the people. I love the people out here, the kindness. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still good.
Yeah.
And as long as you're in the rodeo world or, barrel racing world, those people just touch your heart no matter what.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting to share all the stories and, that it definitely doesn't have a type and a person and a thing it likes, and that everyone has their own story, but we're here and something else that a lot of people have told me is the support. The support is what gets you through it.
Yes, ma'am. That's for sure.
Did you ever have
having good people backing you?
Yeah. Did you ever have any support groups that you did on social medias or anything like that, or mainly just friends and family?
No, I mainly just friends and family. My girls helped me out a lot. I mean, just their positive attitudes helped me, and just and the people I work, just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. I just kept doing that every day. But I didn't do any groups or anything.
And you continued to work throughout the time?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a barber by trade, and yes, ma'am, I continue to work the whole time.
Yeah. Got to keep busy for sure.
Yes.
So
very sure.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think it's going to be really cool to clip them all together and see what everyone says.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, I really appreciate it.
My name is Sheila Zant.
Hey, rodeo fans. Today's episode is sponsored by the awesome ladies at Jordan Realty Group at Fathom Realty, led by the Paige Jordan, a West Texas native and Midland hometown girl. Their team of dedicated professionals that truly understand the West Texas way of life. Whether you're buying or selling, they know the ins and outs of ranches, farms, and rural properties that define this region. With deep roots in the equestrian and agricultural world, they're passionate about helping you find your home or property that best fits your West Texas lifestyle. If you're building your legacy for the first time or looking to sell, Jordan Realty Group is here to guide you. Check them out at jordanrealtytx.com altogether, or give them a call at 432-557-4735. We will also have their contact information linked in the show notes.
I have been married 26 years to Tommy Zant.
Yes, everyone knows Tommy.
Mm-hmm. I got cancer the first time in June 2003. It was medullary carcinoma. I just did a biopsy and ended up I did 6-hour chemo treatments and 33 radiation on that one.
Wow.
But it was actually the day I stopped asking God, why me? I asked God to use me, because it's a difficult time to think clearly and you experience a range of emotions and uncertainty and confusion. But I never thought of breast cancer as a death sentence. I took it as a time to get closer to God in my personal relationship. And then I went 15 years cancer-free. And in 2018, I got my second breast cancer. It was estrogen-based. I did 6 2-hour treatments and 33 radiation again. And then I went 4 years, and in 2022, I got breast cancer again, and I said no more. I did double mastectomy and no treatments. I will be 71 in December, and I still ride horses. I run barrels and live my life to the fullest.
So are you considered cancer-free with the double mastectomy, or just?
Yes.
That's
I haven't
exciting.
had any issues whatsoever since then.
That's exciting. If you could give somebody who's going through breast cancer, either as the patient or the support person, a piece of advice, what would that be?
Everybody's different in their own personal relationship. I just had a lady from Oregon that I haven't met that I was introduced to through Kim Teague, and I told her the key is to, whatever you do, which I rode horses. In my first cancer, I was riding fertility horses, so I rode 7 horses a day, except the day of my chemo, which was 6 hours, so I had to rest. But I rode fertility colts, and I rode 7 a day. I say get back to your normal routine as soon as you can. When I had my double mastectomy, I had drain tubes in for 10 days. And I got a stationary bike, and I rode a bike 3 miles in the morning and 3 miles in the afternoon, and I just moved my arms like I was walking.
Yeah.
My understanding, you get scar tissue within 30 seconds after you do, get cut. And I've been very blessed that I do heal, but I keep moving. My key is to keep moving and do what I normally do and listen to my body. If I need to rest, I rest. But the key is to move and be as normal as you can be. I mean, I went through a very emotional time the first time because I didn't have any per se support of, what I didn't have the question why, or when, and it was really hard I had to learn everything on my own. And where now I have a list of notebooks that I help other people, to say exactly what happened to me. I said, everybody knows their own body and you have to listen to it. But the key is, for you to do what you can do normally as you can, as soon as you can.
Yeah. Don't let it.
The lady in Oregon's already walking. She said, I'm already walking and moving. She said, and I already feel better in 2 days.
Yeah. Just not letting it beat you. You have to beat it.
I said that, it's got to live, cancer's got to live with me. I'm not living with cancer. In fact, I had kind of questioned the third time, because I was taking care of my elderly parents and I was really kind of on overload. And I said, God, if you need to take me, I'm ready. And I found it on a T-shirt. You listen to songs or, scripture, which now I do my daily journey on Facebook every morning. I do scripture every morning. I send 8 friends, scripture every morning through a text. And I read a T-shirt and it just really caught my eye and gave me, it just was something that God was speaking to me. And he said, Sheila, didn't say Sheila, but he said, your wings have to wait. Your wings have to wait because your story's not over yet.
Ooh, that's good.
And so I got that on a T-shirt. And it really spoke to me that, when you're that close to relationship with God, as long as you have a breath and your heart is beating, you need to keep moving.
Yeah. So you mentioned, when you started this, you didn't have that much support. So did that kind of change for you throughout your multiple diagnoses? I don't really, how would you say that?
Did. Well, yes, it did. I'm mainly because I've never been around anybody. Nobody in my family had ever had cancer. And so it was always a death sentence, to other people.
Yeah, don't say that word, right?
Yeah. And so I didn't look at it as a death sentence. It made me become more of a fighter, more of a warrior, to fight for, my body. The devil's telling me one thing, but God's saying no.
Yeah.
And so I went, it made me closer in my relationship with God because God's telling me, Sheila, you can do this. And so I rode horses. Like I said, I rode 7 horses a day, and I never stopped doing my normal routine. I had to take breaks, but I went on the road and, rode. In fact, there was times that when I was supposed to do chemo, I said, I'm supposed to have done it every 3 weeks. I said, I'm going to fertility. You can do it when I get back. I wouldn't do it before I left.
Yeah. Did you ever get really sick with chemo?
Pardon me?
Did you get real sick with chemo?
Now, the first time I did, it was, I did everything but throw my toenails up, but I learned to take the prescriptions they give you. And this is what aggravates me about the doctors stuff too. They give you nausea pills, but it says take as needed. Well, I was already throwing up, so I couldn't keep them down.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking them. They give you stuff in your chemo, the first 48, it lasts 24 to 48 hours. So I started taking them, every 6 hours for 2 or 3 days until I didn't get the nausea. And I started taking ginger pills. I started taking stuff that the pregnant women take, their candy things, to keep from being nauseated. I learned it on my own, and I kept a notebook of everything that I took, my herbs and all that stuff and that's the only time I got sick. Now, I got tired. The radiation made me really tired because I had to do it every day. And I did actually had 66 treatments total. And now I can't do any more, radiation.
And you did it all here in West Texas?
I did it in West Texas, yeah. I lived in Odessa at the time. I just moved to Stephenville a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I wish they gave you a notebook or, people's personal experiences, because unless you know the questions to ask, the doctors don't give you more info than, that you have something to go by,
Yeah.
I mean, and they're doing, I keep telling them, do it in layman terms, tell me, what I can understand. I don't know the medical field, and I'm not totally relying on you because, so the nurses would be upset with me when I'd come in and show them my buckles or something. I did. Oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. And then I talked to Dr. Kazar, and he goes, Sheila, they've never been around anybody that does physical labor like you. You know what you can do. You do what you got to do.
And you kind of had to keep going too. I mean, that's the thing that kept you going.
Yeah. Well, I've had, when I was on the road, I'd have, my mother's a nurse and she's totally in bed. And I'm like, why wouldn't she know? I mean, it does work on you emotionally, emotionally and mentally. It does. It makes you tired. But like I said, I started riding a bike or just staying active. Even if I walked to the barn and come back, I may have to lay down for an hour or two, but I was always moving, and then every day got better and better.
So where does that leave you today? Do you have to go get your checkups, or with having that double mastectomy, where are you at with all of that?
I'm totally done. In fact, last year, or right after I had my double mastectomy, I had to go in like 3 months after for blood work and stuff. And I told Dr. Conderwald, I go, I appreciate everything you've done since 2003. But the day I found out I had my third cancer, I had done a mammogram, and I'd gone to see my blood work after the mammogram. And he goes, oh, your blood work is good. And then Dr. Hicks had called me and said, Sheila, we found another spot in your breast. So I told Dr. Connor, well, what is good as the blood work? You're telling me it's good. Now I got cancer for the third time.
Yeah.
It really baffled me. And I'm like, so when I went back this last time, it's been over a year. I'm like, I appreciate everything you've done. And I said, but this is between me and God now, and I'm not coming back. Yeah. And I didn't do that.
Well, I really appreciate you telling your story and kind of just spreading awareness about this.
It is, it's just, when I had the double mastectomy, I had a friend that had a double mastectomy before me, and I didn't think about wearing, had to wear shirts that button up, or pajamas that button up, things like that, because I'd already been through cancer twice, but I didn't think about not being able to raise my arms because they cut, underneath your arm and take everything out, to your breastbone.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have reconstruction. I said, I was 68. I talked to my husband. I'm like, look, I'm ready to live my life, and I want to run barrels, and I don't want to, go through reconstruction and all that. I mean, they're trying to kill me. I don't want them back.
Yeah.
And so he was in agreement. Great support system. He just tells me every day how beautiful I am, and I never was self-conscious about it. I just, like losing my hair the first time. I lost my hair all my hair the very first chemo. But that wasn't me. I just wore do-rags and just said I never had a bad hair day when I was bald, because it didn't affect me that way. I don't think about my appearance as part of who I am,
Yeah.
It's from within, and so I would just, move on with it. I just wore do-rags and, where my head wouldn't sunburn when I was riding.
You didn't have to think about doing your hair or nothing. You just said, okay, I'm going to go ride.
No. And it was almost a year and a half when my hair grew back,
Did it grow back like curly or straight or different colored?
It grew back like real dark and real curly, and then the longer it got, the stringier it got, just like it did before.
Yeah. Gave you a little bit of false. You were like, oh man, I'm gonna get some new hair out of this.
I'm like, oh, I like it curly. Everybody, people with curly hair want straight hair, and I wanted curly hair anyway. But yeah, I just never took that as a personal against me. I just was trying to fight, to get over the cancer and move on, And like I said, I ended up being 15 years clean before it came back. But it was a totally different cancer. I had medullary carcinoma the first time. And then just so happened, I had been leading some colts, and they jumped across a mud puddle, and the saddle came down and hit me. And I just thought it was a bruise, and it kept throbbing and throbbing. And so I went, and it enclosed in a capsule about the size of my little finger, and it went towards my breastbone. So it didn't feel any bigger, but thank God it got in a capsule, because they said the medullary carcinoma is the type of cancer that can go to your major organs, and then you're screwed,
Oh, wow.
And they ended up taking that out, and they took out 13 lymph nodes on my left side. And then on my second cancer, they do some kind of dye stuff now, and 5 lit up on my right side, but they were cancer free.
Wow. And you're still riding horses to this day and keeping on.
I'm down to 2, and my personal horses 2. And in fact, I'm going to Burles tomorrow to Hamilton. But I try to go every weekend and just keep, living my life,
Yeah. I think that's really special.
It's just, I say I'm blessed beyond measure, because I can still live my life and I'm enjoying it. And each breath is a gift, so I don't waste it.
So I ask everybody a question, and that is, why is West Texas special to you?
Well, I was blessed that I could do my treatments right there. I could stay home. I've had other people had to go to Houston and, be away, and that's, besides being the expense, but being away from home, it's just, I could go home and rest in my own bed, and I was really blessed for that. And the doctors I had, Dr. Conaway and Dr. Kazar, I've had them since 2003, and they tended to my needs for what I knew to do, like I rode and all, and Dr. Kazar understood that. When I called to say, look, I'm fixing to go to fertility, I'm not doing chemo before I go, because it takes too much out of me. Yeah. And he goes, okay, we'll just schedule it next week. So they always worked around my schedule. I didn't have to work around theirs.
That's awesome. That's really great.
So that really helped me a lot, that I could do, didn't have to leave home to do my treatments, and I could just go up there and come back.
Finding the right doctor that fit you too. That's awesome.
And they understood, like I said, Dr. Kazar understood, what I did, and so did Conaway. I just say, look, I'm ride horses, and this is what I do. And cancer's got to live with me. I'm not living with cancer, and I got things to do and places to go.
I like that.
Yeah. I never slowed down as far as that part go. I just didn't let it, they had to work around my schedule. I didn't work around theirs.
Yeah. I like that. I like that saying. It's, It's simple but very meaningful.
Yeah.
So
It's, you just, the main thing is, do what you know to do, and, what is right for you. You know your own body, and I listen to the doctors, to, I'm going to say 90%, but the other 10% is mine. Like this, in fact, in 2018, they will put me on estrogen blockers. Well, I looked on drug.com, and the estrogen blocker causes brittle bone. And so I won't take it. And so Dr. Conegal said, that's part of your treatment. I said, look, I have a choice, and I don't want to be in a wheelchair within a year, because I ride horses, I climb fences, I work on the tractor, I do a lot of physical labor. And why would I knowingly take a drug that deteriorates my body? I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it. They wanted to put me on it 5 years, and I said no. And then I got cancer the third time, and I just said, I'm doing a double mastectomy, I'm moving on, and I'm just not going to do it,
Yeah.
And that was what was right for me. Now, other people, it might be, what they want to do, but I just, I always look up what the drugs do to you, long term, and I refuse to do prescription drugs.
Yeah. Do your research. What's best for you and your body.
Right.
So, well,
and everybody's different. That's where I get kind of aggravated, because I'm going to say all the treatments. For breast cancer or any kind of cancer, it's all the same. They don't do it as for individual person. They do it what is for that, per se cancer, and it's not right for everybody.
Yeah.
And you have to be your own advocate. If you got a question and they don't answer it, get somebody who does. I kept a notebook, because in the moment I didn't understand, I would write down the answers, and questions, and I'd go back over it. If I had another question, I'd keep a notebook where my mind could keep right. And if they didn't give me the right answer, I wouldn't do it. For me,
No one knows yourself better than you.
Exactly. And like I said, your, physical abilities and stuff, and, the doctors don't. They just know the medical part of it, and they can only tell you the guidelines they do, but they try to treat everybody exactly the same, and that's not the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing this and spreading the awareness and just talking about it. And my hope is that if someone's listening to this, that they know they're not alone, or that there is, awareness. And it definitely doesn't, my saying is that cancer doesn't like a certain type of person or a certain type of thing. It can be in anybody, and doesn't matter your age,
Exactly.
your shape, nothing.
It's just part of what I call part of Satan's plan, is to get you, to kill, steal, and destroy. And I'm like, no, you're not, because God, I'm a child of God, and I live for victory. I try to remember to live life so that those who know me but don't know God will come to know God because they know me. And that's our true purpose in life.
I love that. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, and I appreciate your time.
Yes, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye.
So my name is Alexis Alm. I'm from Sheldon, North Dakota. So I grew up ranching here, right on the edge of the national grasslands. We've ran a cow-calf operation and grew up team roping. And I went to college for commercial aviation. So I was a commercial pilot for a little blip of my life. And I came back home to start ranching, and I got back into training horses and stuff. So,
and you're 27, right?
Yep. So this spring on March 1st was when I got diagnosed with stage 4 IDC. So how does that work? It's like ductal carcinoma, essentially. So stage 4 breast cancer, and it metastasized in my sternum bone. So I started my first treatments, I think it was end of March, with chemo, and I finished 16 rounds of chemo over the course of 20 weeks. And let's see here, I just had surgery. I had a single mastectomy 2 weeks ago. And then today was actually my doctor's appointment where I got my drain pulled out. And that was a wild ride.
Yeah, I can imagine.
but I start radiation in the next couple weeks. So we haven't discussed how many rounds, but I'm assuming it's going to be around 30 rounds of radiation. But through all of my chemo treatments and stuff, I continued to ranch and been training just my own personal horses over the summer. I didn't take any client horses. So I've been pretty blessed to have stayed pretty healthy through it all for the most part, which has been nice.
Yeah. Do you have children?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Just me and my husband.
Do you know like what caused, I mean, not that there's ever known of what caused your breast cancer, but is it something that runs in your family or?
So my aunt on my dad's side had breast cancer, but we did genetic testing on it and there was no gene for it or anything. And the crazy part is it would have been almost exactly a year from when I got my diagnosis. I'd gone in because I'd found small lumps in both of my breasts. And so they did an ultrasound on it and they said, oh, it's just fat lumps, like not too much to worry about, like everything's okay. And then it would have been late October or early November of 2023, I started to notice like on my left side, on my left breast, like the mass had gotten like pretty large and like my breast had become pretty firm. But I was like, oh, it's probably just, another fat lump, like I'll be fine. And then we kind of started to notice some more big changes. And so I went in February and I got my official diagnosis in March.
Did you ever feel sick or anything? Like, yes, you had the lumps, but did you ever feel any different?
I've tried to think back on it. So I worked as a full-time ranch hand before that. So I mean, working like a pretty laborious job, like you never really, like you always feel kind of tired, and but I'd noticed I think that was the biggest part was I was more fatigued. Like I'd come home some days and have to take a nap at like 5 p.m. and before I could do anything. And but I wouldn't say I had any other major symptoms that stood out. I think that other than the physical of how my breasts looked and then just feeling fatigued, that was probably the main ones.
When did you quit the airline before you found out, right? You went back to ranching before? Yeah. Because you said you were day working. So tell me about that. I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, to be able to fly commercial, how did you get into that from kind of having the Western background?
So I kind of hit a point in high school because I didn't have a super great home life, I'd say. And so I was like, I want to go and see the world. And so I think I'd flown commercially on a trip maybe twice in my life beforehand. And I was like, yep, I'm just going to go do it. And so I just did it. And I was a flight instructor for about 3 years. And then, flew for the airlines for a couple months. So I technically started training for the airlines during COVID. And so I was a week away from my first official airline check ride. And then we all got sent home because that was when the nation shut down. Mm-hmm. So I waited a year, went back to flight instructing, and then tried it again. And actually the reason I had to stop flying was they pulled my medical certificate because I had kidney issues when I was 2 years old. So they
they go that far back?
Yeah, and the crazy thing was I had renewed my medical certificate at least 3 times before that. They never flagged it. And so I kind of took that as my sign to go back home, and I started just doing some day work for people and started training horses again. And now over the last year, we've bought cattle in with my dad, and I started to, instead of just training ranch horses or team roping horses, I got into more performance, been trying to get into cutting and cow horse stuff. So that's been really fun. So I think it all kind of just happened for a reason. And it kind of allowed me to be home for going through this journey. So, and horses have helped me a lot through all of it too. So.
Have you had a significant support group that you've leaned on or anything like that during this journey?
Oh yeah, it's been honestly incredible. I'm a pretty big introvert for the most part. But when I first because I put it on Facebook because, small towns, word spreads fast and stuff. And so I put it on Facebook, and oh my gosh, like the whole, like multiple communities have just like rallied behind us, and like they've put on multiple benefits for us. And, like people that barely knew me just through like the horse industry of like going to clinics or, just getting to know people through horses, like they've done so much to help me, and it's been like crazy amazing. So like never once have I felt alone during this journey at all. So
That's sweet. If you could give a piece of advice to someone going through it, what would that be?
I would say just find like one thing a day to like look at in a positive light, because it's very easy to dwell, like to kind of get into a bad spot mentally. So like me with the horses every day, I just go out and just look at them and just be grateful for what I have, and look forward to getting back on my horse the next time I can when I'm feeling a little bit better. So it was always kind of something like that. My husband and I would always just try to find one thing to be positive about every day. And that is like one thing you can hold on to keep yourself from kind of thinking about everything that could start to go south or go bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how long until you do start your radiation? You just had your surgery. Do you have to wait like a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think I meet with my oncologist this next Monday. And so I think we're going to discuss the next plan, but it should be within the next few weeks, I believe, is when I start radiation.
Are you able to get treatments like close to your home?
We live about an hour out of, so Fargo, North Dakota is where I go. So it's about a 50-minute drive, which during chemo, it was like every other Monday. And then during the second type of chemo, it was every Monday. And then radiation, it'll be every day. So it'll be but my husband drives to work in Fargo every day. So it's about a easy 50-minute commute.
Yeah. That is just crazy. It's wild. I've talked to a lot of people throughout all this, and the lady before, she was 71 years old, and, she's had it 3 times, but it's just crazy because it's like, you and I are very, very close in age. I'm 28. So
okay,
it's like, holy cow. And my mom actually last year got diagnosed with it. And it was kind of her idea to do this podcast with like getting the different, I don't know, like stories and just like spreading awareness and all that. And it's just, when you reached out to me, I was like, wow, like this is so neat. Like it's such a crappy thing, but it's so cool how it brings everybody together. And just, I'm in Texas and you're in Nebraska. Like that's so cool.
Something I've learned through this journey is it's pretty wild how many people are affected by this. Like it seems like 1 in 3 people have had someone affected by some type of cancer. And I think that's something too, why everyone kind of just rallied together when this came on. And so I couldn't, like you said, it's kind of a crappy situation, but it's everyone is so understanding about it, and it's pretty neat. But yeah, it's definitely no joke. Like I started going through it, and they're like, well, you're young, so everything's going to be pretty harsh, but you're also young, so we're going to make it harsh because you can take it. And I said, okay. And, chemo, like I said, I still trained all my horses and did cattle work. And by the last, like probably 4 weeks of that 20 weeks, I was like, okay, I get what they're talking about now. Like, this is brutal. But, you tell people like, hey, I just can't make it to this, or I can't, like, I'm not feeling good enough to go do this. They're like, nope, we totally get it. Like, no judgment here. And like, people don't pressure you to feel bad about not being able to do what you used to be able to do, if that makes sense.
No, I'm very impressed. Like when you were saying that you continue to like just not skip a beat and keep on keeping on.
It's definitely, I think it's just the orneriness. And I always joke around with people. I'm like, I think I just do things out of spite. So like when the doctor was like, yeah, because I think, when you start some pretty harsh medications, like you start to gain weight, and I've always been very like conscious of that, because you're working with your horses and you want to be the best you can be for them. And so I started like gaining some weight, and we'd show up to my appointments with my oncologist and he'd be like, well, how's it going this week? And I was like, good, I started running again and doing this. And he would like look at me, and he's a very like dry person. He's like, you're running? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what the heck? And so that's when I started saying, I was like, I think I just do things out of spite,
Yeah.
Keep the ordinariness going.
Yeah. Your biggest motivation is when someone tells you can't.
Yep. So.
Well, you're definitely going to have to stay in touch and keep us posted. And maybe we can revisit after you get done with all your radiation and you get to be on the backside of this thing. I'd really like to stay in touch for sure.
Heck yeah. No, I would love to, because I think I'm right on the edge of technically being cured. So all of my tumors have responded super good to cancer. So I'd love to talk to you in a month and be able to tell you that I'm technically cancer free. So that would be a pretty big highlight.
Yeah, I think we should definitely just kind of let everyone know and keep tracking it and keep just riding the ride, just one day at a time. And when you do get to that point, I mean, it is definitely something to celebrate.
Yeah, I've been impatiently waiting for it, but I try to keep. I think I sent you a friend request on Facebook, and so if you I usually put updates on there. So hopefully, when that day comes, I'll be able to put a fun post out there.
Yes, so. No, we're definitely gonna have to keep watching it. And honestly, my mom had it, I didn't. But if you need a support person that is not right there in your family, my phone is always on, and I can give you my mom's number too. She went through it. She had, I want to say she had 20 or 30, something like that, deals of radiation, because she was up there for 6 weeks straight, and they did it every day, Monday through Friday or something. So it was a lot. And I will say she had chemo, but she only had 4 rounds. So she didn't have that, but she said the radiation just made her really tired.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. So I do love my naps. Me and my red healer are expert nappers now after all of this. So my husband, I think, is already gearing up for me to just be like, I'm going home and I'm taking a nap.
Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate that. And, it's really cool to have a resource like that, even though you guys are across the country, but to have a person like that willing to just sit and talk. So that's awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, my mom, she tried to reach out on those support groups on Facebook, and she honestly said they just terrified her, because every time she would get in, someone's just like, I'm just dying. I'm dying. I'm dying. I have cancer. I'm dying. And she was like, I can't do that. I can't do the negativity. We are going to be okay. You gotta get through it. And so that's why I was asking, is if you had found something that was positive, because that was something I think that was most scary, is the unknown. It's, you have no idea. And then all of a sudden it's oh, well, if this is all I'm reading, this isn't very good.
Yeah, I would say that's actually a great point to bring up. I'd say that's another thing that I very limited use those support groups, because they're, and I understand when people they definitely have the right to have a tough time, but sometimes, when you look at those and it's scary to see it, or you'll see a post of oh, so-and-so just passed away yesterday, or it was crazy when I started this journey. One of my husband's old high school classmates, she had been just diagnosed with stage 4 too, and we were supposed to start chemo at the same time, and I had just been messaging her the day before, and then I found out the reason she didn't respond to my message is because she had passed away overnight, and I was like, oh my Lord, that just, it kind of gives you a shock factor. And I think that's when I started just surrounding myself with other cowgirls, and I started doing girls' nights of I get our cattle in, our roping cattle, or just kind of runt calves in, and we would work our horses on cattle and just have fun, and that was just something to look forward to every week. And so just to keep positive people around you and like, oh, like nothing's wrong. Like we're fine. You know, like, yeah, we just keep on every day. Every day is a new day and we just take it one day at a time. So that's kind of what I did. And I think that was a huge factor of helping me kind of just push through everything so well.
I think it's really cool in our industry in general. Like, I always felt like different. I was the horse girl in school because even on the weekends, I mean, my mom was picking me up from a birthday or a sleepover at 6 a.m. because I had horses to feed and I had stuff to do. And, you know, we don't really get to get in our own feelings because we have these animals that they rely on us. And you know, we still have to keep on keeping on, no matter if it's a hard day or a good day. And just speaking outside of, you know, this situation that you're going through, just in general, like those horses and those animals get us through so much because we have to be there for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And yeah, they just do, you know, so much for us in so many ways. Like every time you ride, they try their heart out for you. And so it's the least you can do is show up for them every day and give them their like 1 bucket of grain a day that they need, other than like obviously having their hay and stuff, and go out and give them some extra butt scratches and stuff like that. And no, I don't know honestly what I would have done if I didn't have all of my critters around me during all this. I think I would have gone nuts. So yeah, that's for sure.
Well, definitely keep me in touch. I'll make sure that, you know, we're following your Facebook, we're sharing your story, we're posting to update everybody too. But yeah, let's do this again in about, you know, 4 or 6 weeks, and let's talk about the rest of it.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for giving me this time of your day. And
thank you.
It was really fun. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Casey Lumpkin. I live in San Angelo, Texas. I'm 34 years old, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3, in May of 2019. It was the scariest thing that I think ever came out of my doctor's mouth. I started crying. I was nervous. I was angry. But I knew I'd be able to handle this and move forward. And I was ready to kick this thing from day one. I was ready to get on the medicine, do whatever they had to do to get this out of my body, because I knew I would kick it in its rear end.
Yeah.
The day I was diagnosed, I actually had to go to a baseball game for my son. Sorry, I get a little emotional.
It's okay.
And I did not want to tell my family that night that I was diagnosed, because that night it was about my son. And so I wanted all my attention to my son. I wanted to be the best cheerleader ever. So I didn't tell him that night. I waited till the next day or whatever. But anyway.
How old was your son?
He was 8 years old. It took me a while to tell him, because we were so scared. We didn't know how to tell an 8-year-old that his mama was sick. But then eventually my husband told him, and he understood. He was very understandable. He knew mama was sick. You know, he handled it very well. Then my doctor told me that, you know, my hair was going to fall out after my second treatment of chemo. And he was right. It started falling out, and he told me to go ahead and shave my head, but I couldn't. And the reason why I couldn't is because, well, my little boy, I didn't know how he would react seeing, you know, me being bald. So I actually just let my hair fall out. I wore do-rags, and then eventually, when the time came that I just couldn't do the little loose strings anymore, I finally shaved it. And I mean, he was fine with it. I showed him. He was just like, no big deal, Mom. You know, I mean, he was very understandable. He didn't think anything of it. But during my whole journey with this cancer, I couldn't tell you how many treatments I had, because they actually misdiagnosed me. So after I did all my treatment, I rang my bell. Then I had to go back after my surgery, because I had it I had stage 3 is what I had. It was also in my lymph nodes. So they did surgery and they removed my left breast plus all my lymph nodes. Well, after that was all done, they came back and told me that it was HER2 positive, which is estrogen. That's what the cancer was feeding, you know, and so they had to give me more chemo. So I had to go back and get more chemo, which, you know, no big deal. I dealt with it because I knew it, you know, I'm like, I did it. I can do it again. No big deal.
Yeah.
So I had more chemo or whatever, but then after that was all over, of course, I did the radiation. Then I had another surgery. They did a full tummy tuck on me to do a full reconstruction of my left breast so I could have, you know, another boob or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was a long road all through my chemo. You know, I never did get sick, but but I could do it like clockwork. I had my chemo on Friday. Saturday, I was fine. Then on Sunday, I was in bed all day. My bones ached. I never threw up or anything, but I was tired. I was fatigued. I couldn't eat, couldn't do nothing. I literally had to lay in bed all day. And then by Monday and the rest of the week, every day got better. But I'm so proud of myself because I kept telling myself, you know, don't give up. You're strong. You know, keep going. Because I knew if I gave up, it was going to beat me. So Monday morning, even though I was so tired, I got up and went to work. I was very tired, but my boss was very understanding. I work at a bank. I'm in the loan department at a bank, and I'm a loan assistant. So I had an office job. I got to sit down, so I knew I'd be able to handle it. And he was very understanding, and I was tired, and he could see it. But I pushed through that whole week. And by the end of the week, probably by Thursday, I was back to my normal. I never quit roping. Roping in my family and my horses is what got through me. That was my why, you know, to keep continuing, you know, because I love my horses. I'm a team roper. That's my number one thing. And I still practiced when I could. I still went to ropings. I won a roping while on my chemo. I'm so proud of myself.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then going forward, when after my surgery, when they removed my left breast and my lymph nodes, I couldn't go to work for a while. Well, that was in October of 2019. Well, me and my sister qualified for Vegas in the team roping, and we were already entered. And
You're going.
That was my motivation.
Yeah.
And Kelly's like, "Are you going to be able to go?" I said, "Yes, I am going, Kelly. I am not going to let this get me down. We are entered. We are going." So that pushed me even harder to get better. And the minute that I felt better, I roped the dummy. I rode my horse. I couldn't put him quite together yet. And then I think it was in November, I was able to rope the dummy and I could do it. Then I went to roping live cattle. And when we went to Vegas, me and Kelly, I think we won our consolation in our rotation.
Oh,
so we actually won money
cool.
Yep. And so that was, I will never forget that because that was my motivation.
Well, that just gave me chills. That is so cool.
That I was not, this was not going to get me down. This was not going to, it wasn't going to happen. I'm very strong, but I didn't know how strong I was until this happened. You know, I stayed positive for the whole thing. I never let it get me down, not only emotional, but physically, because, you know, if you get down physically, you're already beat. You know, you got to keep yourself up. And so my horses and my family, they were my why. You know, that's what kept me going in this team roping, because I was like, I'm going to keep going. I never missed it. I only missed one day of work, this whole situation.
Wow.
Through my whole chemo and my radiation, besides my surgeries, you know, that I had to go.
Where did you get your treatments?
I did them right here in San Angelo.
Right there, that's nice. Right at home for you.
Yes. And a lot of people ask me why I didn't go somewhere else. Well, I felt like in my situation that God was telling me that I was okay to stay here. Like, this is where I needed to be, that my doctor was going to take care of me and that I didn't need to go anywhere else. So I stayed, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So if you could give any advice to a person going through this, what would it be?
It would be never give up, no matter what. Stay positive. Find your why. That will get you going, and that will keep you motivated and not to ever give up, no matter what. I had my up and downs through this whole chemo and radiation, but I always went to my why and I prayed about it all the time. And my faith helped me so much through all this. Never, ever give up. Stay strong, no matter what.
Gosh, it's just so crazy that the different stories and I mean, just the different spectrums of life, and cancer is crazy. There's no way of really predicting it. Does anyone in your family have it, or do you know what kind of caused yours? I mean, with it being the HR2 positive, it is the estrogen. That's the one my mom had. So did you have any idea?
No, I had no idea. I actually found my lump myself. And so I told my doctor, and they thought it was a cyst. They're like, as young as you are, because I was just about to turn 40. And they always say, you should be good until you're 40 to do your mammogram, or maybe it's 50.
I think it's 40 now. I think you're right. I think it's 40 now.
And my doctor's like, no, it's nothing. It's probably a cyst. Just go and get it, whatever. So I went and got my mammogram, and then they called me in that next day. So I got nervous. And then they said, we're going to do some more pictures. I'm like, okay. Well, then they called me in the next day and said, well, we're going to do a couple biopsies. And that's when I really got nervous, but I stayed positive. I said, okay. So they took 2 biopsies, and of course, then it came back as breast cancer, but they thought I had 2 small lumps, but it was actually 1 large lump. And so that's why I was stage 3. Plus it went through my lymph nodes on my arm.
Wow.
Yep. So I'm glad I did it. And, that's another thing I would tell ladies. Don't be afraid to give yourself your own exam, because
your doctor sees you once a year, but you see yourself all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so I tell people when they ask me, I said, I found it myself. I said, do not be afraid to, push down, feel whatever. I was like, your body, listen to it.
Did you ever feel sick or anything kind of leading up to finding that lump? Did you ever feel different or off?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. I take that back. I actually had some sharp pain on my left side, right there by, I guess, your rib cage right there. And I told my doctor about it, and they asked me about the bras that I wear. And they're like, well, try a different bra, because the pain it was like a sharp pain, but it wasn't constant. It was just every so often. And then, so I didn't think anything of it, out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, I just told myself, no, I really need to look, something's not right. And then I kept feeling something in my boob, but sometimes I would feel it, sometimes I wouldn't. So I would just put it off. Well, that's another thing. Listen to your gut. I told myself when I first felt it, I need to get it looked at. Well, and then I'd forget. Life happens. And then I finally made the appointment, and I'm glad I did. But I still felt like I waited too late to do it. So that's one regret that I do.
So today you are completely cancer-free?
Yes.
And how long has that been for you?
It's been 5 years.
5 years. What does life look like today for you?
Oh, it's amazing. I try not to worry about the big things. I enjoy the little things in life, because that's the most important thing. Because when I was going through cancer, it's amazing how you look at things differently when you're going through that, and you see things, you're like, well, that don't matter anymore. This does, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It makes it real quick.
Yes. And you think, when certain things don't go right, it doesn't matter. That it's a big thing. It doesn't matter.
Those are the things that truly don't matter. And when you're hit with something like that, and I'm speaking as a support person, with, being for my mom, is it knocks you down, and it makes you think like, I don't actually care about that, or I don't care about this, or, those things don't matter. But what matters is like, life and health and, getting through. And something else that for me was just taking it one day at a time.
Yes.
There's days where I would get overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, and what about this? And we're going to go here and we're going to do this. And it was just like, treat the symptoms or treat the days as they come up. Some days were really, really great. Some days were just not so great. And that's okay.
Yes. And I always tell people too, if they ask, don't stress. Go find your happy place. My happy place is when I'm riding, when I'm, not worrying about anything, because when I'm on my horse, I don't worry about anything. I just ride and I get all that stuff out of there. You got to find your happy place and where you're stress free, because that's what that feeds on too, is your stress.
Yes.
You cannot stress. You got to just let it go. It's not worth it.
And it's hard. I mean, that's, of course, it's always something that you're thinking about, but you do have to find time to not let it consume you, for sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I always end my podcast with the question is, why is West Texas special to you?
West Texas is special to me, I guess, because my family moved here. I'm originally from Nebraska, but I've been here since 94. So West Texas is now home to me, and I love it. And I don't think I could ever live anywhere else. We grew up on the racetrack, but we always wanted to get to Texas. And so I guess that's why it's special to me, because I finally actually got to move to my home.
Yeah.
Where you think that you belong. We always around horses our whole life, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we moved down here.
What brought you down here originally?
Actually, well, my uncle is Larry Coates Outtery. He moved down here, and my dad and him rodeoed their whole entire life as well. And Larry came down here to saddle making school, and we stayed in Nebraska. My dad was actually on the racetrack. He used to race horses, but he wanted us to rodeo more, and he wanted to get off of the racetrack. And so he asked us one time if we wanted to move to Texas. And we were like, yeah, we were so excited.
I mean, that's every cowboy's dream, right?
Yes. And, we rode all the time, even on the racetrack. And my dad made us a little mechanical dummy, and we'd rope that all the time. And we finally were able to move down here.
That's cool.
To get to rodeo more.
That's neat. That's fun. And now you're here, just living on the ranch and just raising your babies, and where you want to be, where his home is for you.
Yes.
I love that.
I love team roping. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine my life without team roping, really. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. It's an addiction.
My happy place.
Yeah. I quit running barrels too, and all I do is rope now, and I could never go back.
Yep.
So, well, thank you for sharing your story.
My name is Tracy Jackson, and I was diagnosed with triple positive breast cancer in, 2004, when I was 34 years old. At the time, Herceptin, it's a drug for triple, positive breast cancer, was just approved, FDA approved, and that was the life-changing thing. Otherwise, if I wouldn't have had that medicine, I know I would not be here. There's no way. Wow.
And what does that medicine do for those of us that don't know?
Okay. It's because there's a million forms of breast cancer. Not a million, but there's several.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's estrogen positive, progesterone positive, HER2 new positive, and HER2 new positive is what Herceptin helps or fixes. And so you do your regular chemo and your radiation, and then you do Herceptin treatments. I believe it was every 3 weeks.
Is it like a shot, or how do you get that?
Yeah,
treatment?
It's an infusion. It's an infusion, just like a chemo infusion. And it was literally 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was, it was like, because the nurses, like they're like, oh, you're triple positive, and this Herceptin stuff is fairly new, and they gave like you like, oh, sorry, you know what I mean? Gave you the eyeball,
and you were just like
you're the poor shelter dog.
Yeah, you're just like, this doesn't help how I feel already.
Yeah, this is not amazing, but it all, thankfully it all worked out perfect. Yeah, and the whole experience, it's not a good time. Anyone that goes through it, I feel for them. I've had friends pass away from this, and for some reason I lived. You know what I mean? It's so strange. It
is crazy. There's not a one size fits all.
No, it's not. And I think when I was diagnosed, I was really young, obviously. I was like 34. And I didn't know anyone that had it. My family didn't have it. Do you know what I mean? It was just out of nowhere. And so you just trust your doctors.
Yeah.
And if you have doctors that are amazing, terrific, great for you. I had doctors in Grand Junction, Colorado that I swear to goodness, I wouldn't take my horse to them or my dog at this point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is not working for me.
No, they were nuts. So I don't know. It is definitely a different situation for everyone. No doubt.
So when you were going through this part of your life, you stayed active in your rodeo community.
Oh, definitely. I used to go to this, used to crack everyone up. So I had to do however many radiations, and those are really nothing, super simple. But I'd have the horse trailer with 4 horses in it, my son in the back seat, a few dogs, and I'd go into the radiation center, and I would take up this huge, of course, a huge
the whole parking lot.
Spaces.
Yeah, the whole parking lot.
Because and then the people on the PA, whoever has that horse trailer needs to get. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be out of here in a minute, but I've got priorities, and this is, you know what I mean? We're going to wherever we're going this weekend, and I totally stayed.
Yeah, cancer was going to have to come with me because you weren't going to stop for cancer.
Yeah, no, exactly. I didn't really have the mindset of that. And yes, and I remember being bald, barely having my hair back, and running a colt at a barrel race in Delta. And exactly. Yeah. And this baby colt that literally, this second barrel there would get kind of sketch.
Please tell me. I haven't heard this story, but please tell me you had a wig and a wig fell off or something.
No.
Oh, man.
It's better.
Okay,
better.
Let's hear it.
So the horse literally goes in, and she's working good, and I'm all happy with her. But I'm she's a baby colt. She's never barely been entered. And anyways,
yeah,
she just shit the bed on the back side of the barrel, totally fell down, just crashed. Her legs got all tangled up. And I slide off, get off, whatever, not a big deal. But my baseball hat came off, and then I'm the bald lady.
Her horse just fell.
Yes. And it's oh my God, the cancer lady. Oh my God. All these people come running. I'm like, dude, I'm totally fine. Things happen. It's not that big of a deal. But it was pretty hilarious. I was like, oh my God, that's terrific.
Yes.
But it's all good. And
when my mom was losing her hair, she was like, I can't get a wig because we live in West Texas. And what happens if my wig goes blowing across in the parking lot?
That'd be hilarious to get a little stampede.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You might be onto something. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, and I never wore a wig around with the horse stuff, but I did wear one because my son was really young, and he'd only ever seen me with long dark hair his whole life. And so I was like, I don't want to stress him out more. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I got wigs with real a couple long dark wigs. So I was like, look, everything's just fine. Nothing weird happening here.
Yeah.
We're all fine.
Oh my gosh. I kind of think I do remember that a little bit.
Oh yeah, because you were little too.
Yeah, I kind of can remember I remember when you guys found out, because you guys were all roping together and everything else
yes.
and running barrels and everything. And then like, yeah, I think I, have like those vague like memories here and there of things. And then of course the
Correct.
stories I've probably heard over the phone between you and my mom, but yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
If you could give somebody who's going through this a piece of advice, what would that be?
Okay, the biggest thing I would do that I didn't do that I regret is, especially in my case, being as young as I was, I would have a double mastectomy and do reconstruction or whatever and go on about your life. I didn't do that and I regret it. Just because there's a lot of nonsense. It's like, it's still, getting mammograms, doing this, doing that. It's still there, even though it's 20 years ago.
Right. And then I'm sure you still, I know my mom, like she's 1 year free right now and it's just waiting for those mammogram results every year.
Oh, and that's the worst. It is the worst thing ever. It doesn't get better. It's awful.
That's crazy. Well, I know that your time here in West Texas was pretty fast and furious, but I do typically ask everybody why is West Texas special to you? So I don't know if you had an opportunity to share that.
I do love West Texas. You know what makes it special to me, especially now living in the Rio Grande Valley? The wind is special. Do not say, oh my gosh, it's blowing 300 and dust and garbage is flying everywhere. Be thankful. I would pay about $5 million for a West Texas wind almost any day.
Oh, that was a first for the wind here. I love it. Oh my gosh. You're like, give it to me.
I know. I'm like, seriously. And it's so hot and so still. I'm just like, oh my gosh, please just blow like crazy. Like, and we have, we had a pool in West Texas and it constantly had orange dirt in it, blah, blah, blah.
It's like a mud pool.
And anyways, this one that we have here, it's like, there's no maintenance. It stays perfectly clean all the time.
That is wild. Well, thank you for sharing your story and telling everybody.
You, my dear. And I'm so happy you're doing so well. I'm proud of you.
Hey, Sarah, my name is Morales. I am 40. I'm not 49 years old. I was diagnosed with cancer at 49, diagnosed with breast cancer. I am 54 now. And I was diagnosed with cancer back in 2010. And I have to correct myself. I said 49. I was 39 when I was diagnosed. It kind of all blends together.
Yeah, it's okay.
Diagnosed with breast cancer at stage 2B in 2010. And things just went so fast, it seemed like. And I knew then when I went to the doctor, I had a little lump and went to one of the mammogram vans. I was like, okay, I'll just go do that mammogram van. Went and did that, and they did a mammogram, and I left there with the certificate saying, hey, you're good. You don't have cancer. You're good to go. Congratulations. And literally have the letter. But I had to advocate for myself, and I knew something just did not feel right. So I went ahead and got in with the doctor, got in to get another mammogram. They said the same thing. So because I was 39, I was really considered young at the time. So I went ahead and insisted to see the radiologist. Radiologist comes out and he feels the lump and says, you know what, let's just do an ultrasound. And did an ultrasound, and within, an hour I was getting a needle aspiration biopsy. And I kind of had the feeling at that time then that it was positive, but had to wait for it to come back to find out. So at this time, my son was starting kindergarten, so it was very scary and just wondering what was going to happen, because your first thought is you're going to die.
Yeah, it's so scary.
Yes, you're going to die. Start getting things figured out, what you're going to do, and see what happens. So it was about a week or so later that I got my results back, definitely positive, and then the world would happen. And there's so many doctors really didn't have anybody to help advocate for me, and trying to reach out to different organizations and try to find somebody to answer questions, because even at 39, you're considered young. And I started finding girls that were even younger, 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 years old, getting back. And it's just not something that we think as a society typical.
Yeah. No,
Old people get, that's what old people get cancer. So I went through all my treatment. It was really tough, and I made it through. So one of your mile markers after you're diagnosed with breast cancer is to get to that 5-year mark of being cancer free. So close to my 5-year mark, I needed to go to the doctor. I wasn't really feeling very well, and went and said, I was diagnosed with cancer a few years back, not sure what's going on, don't feel very well. After an exam and everything, they diagnosed me with stage 4 breast cancer. So my cancer had metastasized, and it had spread to my liver and my bones, and then was a whole new realm of what is going to happen now.
So when you first went, what kind of treatment did you get the first time?
The first time I went, they said I did not need radiation, and all they did was, I say all they did, I had lots of chemo. So I went through 4 rounds of erythromycin, which they call the red double. And then I went through 12 rounds, I think, of Taxol. So it was close to a year of trying to get through all of that chemo.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was about a year. So, and with that came challenges, the medicine causes different type of side effects, and then you're taking medications to cover side effects. And I was on 22 different medications a day to control my cancer side effects.
Wow.
So that was
That's
just
crazy.
Very crazy. And you really get, people talk about PTSD. Well, PTSD on taking pills. I had so many pills that I was having to take that I don't even want to take a Tylenol, because I'm just so tired of taking pills.
Yeah.
And that's 22 prescriptions. So that doesn't count the 4 times a day, 3 times a day, 2 pills twice a day. So that was a lot of pills a day that I was taking just to take care of side effects.
Yeah. And not to say the cost, that I can't imagine what that cost, even with insurance.
Yes, the cost was expensive. Luckily, thankfully, I did have health insurance, but there's still 20% costs. And when I went for my first day of chemo, I had a contract to sign, and my contract was, this is how much your chemo is going to cost. Every time you come and sit in our chair, it's going to be $60,000. We don't know if your insurance is going to pay for it, and you have a 20% copay.
Oh, so my gosh.
Yes. So, and that was just being diagnosed with stage 2B cancer. Once I was diagnosed stage 4, and the chemo and the other tests and the other drugs that you do, because now they're really trying to save your life, is even more expensive. And I think I started going to Stanford in California, and my first year of being diagnosed stage 4, my bills were around $6 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And it's, it's just crazy. And I don't know what people do that don't have insurance or don't have, even the better care. And I was fortunate to be able to go somewhere that I had, I consider it to be the best care.
Absolutely. So where did you get your treatment at?
At first I got my treatment. I was on the East Coast at Walter Reed. And then when I was diagnosed the second time, I was at Stanford in California.
And what are your ties back to the rodeo community?
Well, so interestingly enough, in 2020, my cancer treatment stopped. So the drugs, the medications that I was on was just not controlling the spread of my. So I met with my team at Stanford, and, my doctor said, we're just don't have anything left to offer you. We have clinical trials we're trying. We have these different, things that we can do and look at. But as far as what do you want quality? And I said, well, I want quality. And I feel like the less medicine I'm on, the better I'm feeling. And he says, well, this is the time for you to go do something big. Enjoy your life. We're going to follow you. We're going to still keep in touch with you. We still want to see you. We're going to do your scan for 3 months. And I said, okay. So that's when I decided. I already had horses, and I always went to rodeos and loved them, and I already knew how to ride. But I decided I wanted to barrel race. So I was self-taught and decided to go and get one of my horses out of the pasture and teach myself how to barrel race.
That is so cool. And the people that, look on the outside in of being in our world, they're like, that's not that hard. Just get on a horse and go. And there's just so much. And it's just so neat that that's what you did. That was your goal.
Well, it was, and I can tell you as an outsider, I looked and thought, wow, that's easy. I can do that, but once I learned, I realized that no, it's not easy. Number one. Number two, I had to learn to ride differently because I do have cancer in my spine and my hips. So I can't ride with my knees. I can't, when people say sit and look, when you're riding, well, it's not the same for me. It's more difficult, more painful. But I get that adrenaline rush being up there. And with that adrenaline comes pain-free. And I feel the best I can ever feel when I'm on the back of my horse getting ready to run. And it lasts, for a couple of hours once I'm done with that run, whether it's 15 seconds or 16 seconds, I am pain-free.
That is
and
so cool.
It's the best feeling. And just this past year, I was awarded the Tough Enough to Wear Pink at the NFR. And that was a big surprise for me. And
what was that like? That is so neat. Share about that experience. That is so cool.
I had no idea. I got a call from the Tough Enough to Wear Pink organization, and they invited me to come to the NFR. So they would fly me in, wanted to, introduce me to some people and watch the rodeo because it was going to be pink night and, wear my favorite pink. Everybody's wearing pink. And they got me there, and I got to meet some of the other athletes that were there, the rodeo athletes, and talk to them about what shirt they were wearing, their pink shirts. And about halfway through the rodeo, one of the organizers came up to me at the NFR and said, hey, we want you to meet some friends of ours. And I was like, okay. So I'm just watching the rodeo, And so they bring me up and they introduced me to the ladies with Montana Silversmith. And I met, the president of AQHA, the president of NFR, just different people.
Cool.
Yes. So they bring me down. We go down to the bottom, and then they were like, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. We just got to tell you." And they said, "We are going to honor you for Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night. We have a beautiful buckle that we want to present to you in front of all of our friends," which happened to be in the center of the arena at the NFR. So, so that was
what went through your mind when they said that?
Oh my! Well, they were playing my story over the the speaker system. So I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing them talk about me and about what I've accomplished, and and I'm got tears in my eyes because I'm hearing it from a different view.
Yeah, you're not telling the story; you're listening to it.
Yes, and I'm listening to my story just like I'm telling you from someone else in front of the people and on live TV, and being awarded this beautiful buckle, that's literally is a once in a lifetime thing, and not for anybody.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to get it. And it was kind of a reward to myself because of what I have accomplished. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I don't give myself enough credit, because I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I don't give myself enough credit. And because I honestly, I because I get up and I just try to go my day with purpose.
What does your days look like for you?
Well, I do have horses, so I have to, like everybody else, get up and go get them fed and watered and groomed and saddled and practice and ride and, find barrel races to go to. And
where are you currently living at?
I am currently in Beaumont, Texas.
Oh, okay. So because here in West Texas, we have, you can go 5 nights a week to a jackpot. Is that kind of the same way over there for you? Do you have to travel a lot?
I have to travel more, so I depend on some sponsors to help with that, and I do have some sponsors that help me get to the jackpots just to be able to ride. And sometimes I travel. It's about an hour, some hour and a half. I do try to go to some of the bigger races. Last year, I was at the Tech.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that was. And I had the news station in Abilene came out and covered my story through Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that was really exciting. And the feedback I got just from some people that saw the story and reached out to me and asked me, how do you do this? How do you do this? And, I always say I just say, well, there's a will, there's a way. And man, do I have a will to live,
Yeah.
So I just want to keep on.
So if you could give somebody that's going through treatments or, maybe just diagnosed or any stage of this journey, if you could give them a piece of advice, what would that be? Absolutely. My advice would be to slow down. When you're first diagnosed, I'll think about it. I have to hurry just out of my system. I have to hurry and get surgery. I have to hurry and get my chemo. I have to hurry, and you just feel like you have bugs crawling in your body. You just feel the cancer. You feel it growing inside of you, and it's so scary. And I think my treatment would have been differently if I would have had somebody tell me, slow down, just breathe. Let's take this a day at a time. All the questions, get the second opinion, get the third opinion, because it's literally our life that we're dealing with. And that's absolutely what I tell everybody that I talk with. Slow down, get all the information. Don't get on Dr. Google, and do your research. Yeah, no, it is so easy coming from the support person. My mom had breast cancer and she beat it last year, so we're really thankful for that. But it changes your life in a split second, and it's really easy to get wrapped up in the what ifs and, well, what about this, and can I do this? And like you said, that's really, really great advice, because we didn't have that. We kind of reacted and just knee jerked and went with it, and
right.
Yeah.
And you ask your doctor, how long do you think I've had this? You didn't just get it. You've had it. You've had it for probably a couple of years or more.
Yeah.
It just did not show. It just wasn't active. And we did just fine before we knew we had it. So let's slow down and let's ask the questions and get all the right information.
Well, I am so grateful that you've taken the time out and that we were able to make it work for you to share your story. And I look forward to kind of talking to you a little bit more in the future. And if you ever want to come down to West Texas and you want to hit up a big barrel race, you have my phone number. So
absolutely,
come down, hang out with all of us, and we'll welcome you. And I'm just so grateful for you sharing your story.
Will do. Thank you so much for calling.
Of course.
But, I just want to say a big thank you to you, because, you guys did a lot of sacrificing too. And
you said you weren't going to cry.
I'm not crying. It's the alcohol.
Okay.
But no, it's huge, So
yeah.
And don't be afraid to not be okay.
Well, and from being on my end of it is like respecting someone's space. Like, it was hard and I was frustrated, and I went through why would you not even tell me that you even had a scare on your mammogram, and all those things. And, it's just taking a step back and respecting the decisions that you're making in that time, and how can you be there for someone without smothering someone,
Right.
and stuff like that. And when it was time, okay, I really tried to not put my input in on too much, but I remember one day we were driving, and I think it was fairly close, or was it on the way home from when we tried on wigs, and you were just like, I'm gonna lose my hair and I'm gonna lose this, and I'm like, it's your hair, it's not your life.
Right.
And I think that that was one of those, I had bit my tongue for so long, because it's like, man, and I mean, I lost my hair. My hair is my identity. Like,
no, it's a lot, right?
Naked without it,
yeah.
But it was your hair and it wasn't your life. And
yeah.
So there was some things that I think that just it's definitely, because you are the support person doesn't mean that you don't need support too, I guess is where I'm trying to get at with it. Like, you got to have your people too. Even if you are the support person, you need to have your person, because it is a whirlwind of emotions, and some days you're good and some days you're not good.
Right. And, that's why in the beginning, just not saying anything is because I didn't want to give that initial scare. Yeah. Because again, right, I didn't need to go get a mammogram because I'm healthy. I had
There's no history in my family.
There's no history in my family. I had just broken 3 state records in powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I was on top of my game.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't me.
Yeah, I'm fine.
And so, all the way leading up into that moment.
I think one thing we haven't said is, when you did get your results, where were you?
So I got the text, because it's in a text, and I was in the dining room looking over, putting Easter stuff up or something to that effect, and read the text, and it said, you do have breast cancer. This is what's going on, and this is the next step.
And you were considered stage 2, right?
Stage 2. And of course, at that, when I had gotten that, like, I went to text Dad, and I was like, do I text or do I call? Because this text was so not personal.
Right.
Like, hi, you have breast cancer. That's cool.
Yeah.
You have an appointment in 3 weeks. I'm going to wait 3 weeks to see the oncologist. Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it. So I sat down in the dining room, and I called him, and I said, it's positive.
Yeah.
Like, it's positive. And he's like, that's it. I'm coming home, So he gets home, and we both cry. And
I think it was pretty hard on him.
I can't imagine.
On anybody, like, that was hard watching him go through it. Although at one point I'm like, she's gonna be fine. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to baby. Like, I mean, you couldn't wipe your own butt if you wanted.
Listen, I'm not one to be babied, and that was a lot for me.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
It was very sweet, and I got through it.
Sweet, but it's just so funny because he just flipped his switch and
yeah, so sweet, But the next step was calling you and your brother.
Yeah.
And I knew it had to be done, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go to talk and nothing would come out.
Mm-hmm.
Just tears, And I look back and I'm like, we probably should have waited till she got off work. Like, it wouldn't have changed anything. But in that moment, because we're such a close family, it was like, the kids have to know, right now.
When Dad actually told me it's because they had pushed you in for that, like the rushed biopsy or something. Yeah. You couldn't go get Teal from school.
Right. That's right. I couldn't pick her up because I was going in for that biopsy.
And then Dad was with you. And so you were like, Dad called me like, hey, you're going to have to pick Teal up from school. Why? Well, we're hearing your mom's being tested for breast cancer. It's like, whoa. Like,
yeah, I can imagine what it was on your end. And then, we left you to have to function normally through the day, right? Like, that was pretty unfair.
But, I mean, it's not about me.
No, but I mean, at the same time, I can imagine getting that call. Like, hey, this is what's happening. Go pick up Teal and, have a great day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was like, honestly, I think it was like 11:18 because I can remember looking at my phone.
Yeah.
It's like 11:18. I think she had to be picked up by 2.
Yeah, it was 2. Yeah.
And yeah. But it was like no mention of like, got a doctor's appointment today or nothing. So you're just like, and then when my dad calls me in the middle of the day, you really are like, what
the hell? Yeah. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. So, but
yeah. But it's all behind us, and now we have the funny stories, and you can look back, and you know you're gonna have me for a long time.
And if you're going through it from either being a patient or being a support person for a patient, like you will get through it.
Well, and I just want to tell you guys, like, this is the first time that we've talked about this.
Yeah, we actually have it.
This is our very first conversation about it.
Yeah, we've never sat down.
We've just never sat down and talked about it.
I think we just kind of like both just tucked it and moved it, and it's done. So it's going to be done, you know?
Yeah.
And then whenever you were like, it'd be really cool to do a podcast about breast cancer. And then I was like, hell no, it can't be just you and I. Like, there's no way, because we haven't sat down and talked about it at all.
At all. That's why this is taking forever.
Other than the glow-in-the-dark nipples.
That.
We did that. I'll never forget. Dad comes out and he's like, your mom has a really cool party trick. You should ask her about it. I was like, what the hell?
I don't know. Like, maybe that's my like bar trick where we get free drinks. Like, hey,
if it works.
She's got a glow in the dark nipple. No, she doesn't. Yeah, we do for a round.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about it at all. And no, it's definitely, there's a lot of parts to it.
There is a lot of parts to it, right?
Just, I'd say, I mean, from being the support person is one day at a time with the patient, one day at a time. Like,
right.
Everything is just taken, and I think that you can't get ahead of yourself, and I think that you need to take it appointment by appointment. And
definitely,
you know, because I remember your very first chemo, you had all these other drugs, but by your second chemo, it was like, hey, we're going to do this, you know? And I think if you know, and then you ended up having like one less chemo than you were going to, or something like.
3 less chemos because of the,
So, I mean, I would just because they say that's your prognosis, or because they say that this is your treatment, I would take it one treatment at a time.
Absolutely.
And I think for both things is, I know that that's a lot of how like my brother and I was just get through this one. Okay. Now reassess. What's our plan for the next one?
Yeah.
You know, and just take it in stride.
You have to, right? Because you can't plan ahead.
So do I get to ask you my question?
Oh, shit. You got another.
So my mom actually hates West Texas, for those who don't.
Oh my God. I kind of do, but I mean, I do.
Yeah. Love it.
I don't love it, but I don't like hate it.
She just hates it. It's not hate, it's just hate.
I like it in my rear view mirror.
Yeah.
I like it like when I'm leaving out of here, okay?
So, we really hope that you enjoyed kind of, you know, just sharing the stories and knowing that you're not alone, or knowing like maybe this will help you if you're like you have a friend, or you know somebody who knows somebody. Like, that's just what we're here for, is just anything that this can reach, and no matter whoever it reaches.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just if one person out of this just takes it and says, you know what? Yeah, my doctor said go get a mammogram, but I'm good. I'm feeling fine. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Like, go do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, find out sooner than later. Don't do what I did. You know,
it's hard.
So you're going to ask me what my favorite thing about West Texas is?
Yeah. So why is West Texas special to you, other than your rearview mirror?
So I knew you were going to ask me about this, and I was like,
I actually was not going to, for the record.
I kind of thought you were, just to be you.
Yeah.
To see my reaction. I was like, she'll ask me. But, you know, as much as I don't like it here, because we moved here with no family. Like, we moved here not knowing a soul. It
wasn't very inviting either when we moved down here.
No. But we moved down in a boom, right? Mm-hmm. We've never been in an area like this before. So, like, everything was traumatic to me except for Rose's tortillas.
Is that why it's special to you?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, like,
Oh my
the only thing traumatizing that
I'm
was
like, you
that
got
was
to be
not it
shitting
was
me
like
right now.
Rosa's tortillas. But
Well,
if it hadn't been for Rosa's tortillas,
queso before we moved here.
we never had queso.
Yeah, like we ate so much
Roses and queso.
Oh my god,
The tortillas and
we've
queso.
never had that.
But you know, one thing is like I was saying, we didn't have family down here. But you met people really quickly.
Yeah.
And your friends became our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we were included in everything. Like there wasn't a time when we couldn't go over to somebody's house for a barbecue. It was invite your parents over, you know. And now they have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I just get to be a G to all of these crazy little hoodlums running everywhere. And so, you know, it's really brought a big family to me.
Mm-hmm.
And going to the rodeos and you just watch them, you know, and that's just one thing that I really love. And I probably kind of would have gotten out of the horsing had it not been for you and Teal and Mondo. But getting to go with you guys, and now it's your time, because like I've had my time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had my time. And watching you rope, or like, sorry, I know this is arrogant, but I know when Mondo's going to go to a roping, he's going to make the short round. And but then I like to see how he chokes.
Jinx him after all this.
I love it when he calls me. He's like, "Gee, I choked."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Are you for real?"
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know. And now Teal has Reese's.
Yeah.
And you know, from Reese's, she may move on to Rosie,
Yeah.
or you know, I cannot wait to see the next horse that she gets on.
Mm-hmm.
And be there for that. So that's kind of what West Texas is to me. Is it's not so much this place, but it is truly like the people that live here.
Mm-hmm.
And like our Halloween parties.
I was about to say, if you're listening, everyone, Halloween night, come to G's house. Bring your kids.
Bring your kids. It's like
an open invitation.
There was like over 50 last year.
Yeah. We probably should buy extra candy for the neighborhood, I think.
Probably. But anyway, so that's kind of West Texas to me. Is you're definitely not moving here for the scenery. You know, it's hustle bustle, which we're not used to.
Mm-hmm.
But when you find your people and you find your so-called bubble, it's my safe place.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I can never leave you and Till and Mondo. I will be the old Chihuahua lady that lives with you guys forever. Cigarette hanging out my mouth.
Oh, I can't wait.
Cassidy! Bring me my happy Thursday. No, just kidding. But that's West Texas.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
I really wasn't going to ask you. And then I was like, I have to.
I thought you would do it just to be a jerk.
No, I wasn't actually going to ask you because I was like, honestly, I'm sitting here like, what is my mom going to say? Then when you said the roses thing, I was like, well, this is more for core because I didn't know what she was going to say.
But for the roses tortillas, because like we've never had homemade tortillas, which they're not really like homemade, but they're
We've
like
had better sense. Shout out Karina.
Oh yes, like okay, that is one thing. Is like
we've had our good tortillas now.
But from not having fresh tortillas to Rose's tortillas, oh hell yeah!
Mexican food, it comes in the box at Walmart in the frozen section.
That's true, right? We're getting frozen enchiladas.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's West Texas.
So, I think it's really special, and I hope that people listen to this and know that you're not alone, and that we are here for you. And also, like, my inbox is an open message. Like,
definitely mine.
Yeah, if you guys don't have a support system,
we'll reach out.
Support system.
Yeah, I mean, zero judgment.
Yeah.
Period.
So
you're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days, but like the end is amazing.
Yeah. Well, we did it.
We did it.
You want to say my sign off with me?
Stay tuned.
Thank you for listening to the War Pony Podcast. If you have a story to tell or want to be a sponsored ad on our podcast, you can always contact us at Cassidy@warpony.co. That is CASSIDY@warpony.co. Or you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at War Pony Co.